Essentially, any type of game with a slight amount of competitiveness has a 100% chance of there being excuses. In this video, I'll be talking about annoying excuses people use in their strongest battlegrounds. TSB has a lot of excuses that people use, so I can't cover all of them here, but I can cover why people use them. Compared to other fighting games, TSB is way simpler in scale, so there isn't really much to complain about. Which makes people complain about the things that they shouldn't be complaining about, like spamming. Speaking of which, I want to start with spamming because it's the simplest to understand and is the most common excuse I've seen while playing this game. Oh, but don't worry, some of the things later in this video will get very, very interesting. Anyway, back on topic. Spamming is kind of a subcategory of excuses. You have move spamming, block spamming, and ult spamming? Yeah, a lot of these don't really make too much sense. Let's start with the most well-known, move spamming. Move spamming doesn't make a lot of sense whatsoever, because there are literally cooldowns for every single move in this game. But what most people use this for is when someone does the same combo over and over again, or using the same move a ton. Which isn't really a bad thing, especially using the same combo. Sure, it's annoying, but it shouldn't be to the point where you're getting pissed off at your opponent for it. Now time for block spamming. This is the one that everyone complains about, and I can't really see why. Blocking is a very, very simple part of the game. Calling someone a block spammer is like calling someone a reload spammer in an FPS game. Like I said, it doesn't make any sense. To any of my viewers that say this in public servers or ranked, you suck. And now time for ult spamming. Well, you thought I was gonna go in depth with this? This is just stupid. If you say this, you're very stupid and dumb and smelly. Anyway, on to the next one, and this one might actually make you mad. Ah yes, get mad at the one thing that allows you to play the game. Either you or someone else who has made this excuse ends up only playing these two characters on screen right now. Saitama and Garo are characters that are widely known as the best. They were made at a very specific time period that made every character very, very simple. Because of that, these characters have a very high skill ceiling. Since a ton of people play and fight against those characters, everyone adapts to those specifically. After Genos was released, it made characters in the future more complex and have lower skill ceilings, which is why people hate them. If Saitama and Garo are the best characters, then that would mean that they are unfair. But if every other character is the best except for those two, then that would mean they are unfair. This is what people call coping. Why play as an underpowered character against an overpowered character and then get mad about your poor choices? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Anytime I see someone play as Saitama or Garo and complains about me using a character other than those two, it's most likely someone who thinks they're good, but in reality they just do pro combos that only require muscle memory. Whew, that was a lot to take in. Long story short, if you complain about this, what that tells me is that you have a huge ego and need something to complain about to make you feel good about yourself. Anyway, our next excuse is you not subscribing to my channel. I put a ton of work and time in these videos, so it would mean the world to me if you subscribe. I'm almost at 15k, and that's a requirement to get the content creator role on the TSBG Discord server, also known as Yielding Arts. So if you guys got that for me, I'd be really, really happy. But later in this video, I will talk about something that you get mad at in TSB and not even realize. But we will get to that in a sec after our rapid fire round. People, for whatever reason, get mad at you for using a very important part of the game. But this is still reasonable as some people want to fight without ults. It's kind of hard to understand this one. In someone's eyes, you can seem lucky even though you're very good at the game. It's kind of just based on human opinion, but still, most of the time whenever someone says this, they're probably just very mad at you for beating them. This excuse is usually used after someone gets parried 1 to 3 times. But here's the catch. Whenever someone says that someone is parry spamming, they are not parry spamming at all. If they actually were parry spamming, it would be very easy to counter them and punish them. This is probably the most basic excuse ever, and it's kind of a coin flip depending if it's actually happening with someone, or if they're just trying to keep their big ego alive. This can either be used as an excuse after being destroyed or an insult, but I'm referring to the excuse version. If it's used as an excuse, whoever is mad at someone for being a quote-unquote tryhard will continue to say it and probably continue to come back to them after dying, then die again. Alright, your rapid fire round is now over. You can now continue with your mainly scheduled yap sesh with Nubis. You know that one feeling after being called a hacker for being good at TSB? It feels nice, but we aren't here to praise this excuse. In any type of game, calling someone a hacker when they aren't doesn't really make sense and won't get you far. Because if you are a hacker on an alt account and won't get detected by anti-cheat, why hide the fact you're cheating if you can just go all out with no repercussions? Like I said many times, whenever someone says this excuse, all they're trying to do is protect their ego from any harm. And doing this can end up with someone getting banned because of Roblox's garbage moderation AI. This is probably the most reasonable thing on this list. Even sometimes I complain about it a bit. Emphasis on the bit. Lockon is something that people with console have, where with the click of a button, if you're close enough to a player, the camera will lock onto them. This is on console because it's very hard to turn your camera otherwise. A lot of people say that this is OP, but the only way I see it being OP is with Sonic and his ultimate. Other than that, it's really not much of an issue. That doesn't mean it's annoying to fight against. I feel that the devs should nerf console lock-on by making the cameras slightly delayed. This makes it easier to deal with and still helps console players enjoy the game. Complaining about console lock-on is mostly only reasonable if they're using Sonic, because otherwise it isn't really much of a big deal. If you complain about this when that condition isn't met, that means that you just can't take a loss or you're very unexperienced in the game. Alright. Now it's time for the final excuse. And this one really might shock you. Complaining about something in this game just to have an excuse kinda shows they have a massive ego. It's very possible that using these complaints isn't a bad thing, but since this is TSB, most of the time, it isn't. So if you just came here to watch someone debunk excuses solely because you laugh at people using them and do not use them yourself, keep doing what you're doing. You're humble and you at least have half your brain. But if you're someone who watched this video because you got mad that your favorite excuse was groundless, then you might need to change what you say in public servers or ranked. So with all that said, here's the outro. Thank you for watching.